One day a man came to Jesus, and he wanted to raise some questions about some vital matters of life. At points he wanted to trick Jesus and show him that he knew a little more than Jesus knew and throw him off base. Now that question could have easily ended up in a philosophical and theological debate. But Jesus immediately pulled that question from midair and placed it on the dangerous curve between Jerusalem and Jericho. And he talked about a certain man who fell among thieves. You remember that a Levite, and the priest passed by on the other side. They didn't stop to help him. Finally, a man of another race came by. He got down from his beast, decided not to be compassionate by proxy, but he got down with him, administered first aid, and helped the man in need. Jesus ended up saying this was the good man, this was the great man, because he had the capacity to project the eye into the thou and to be concerned about his brother. Now, you know, we use our imagination a great deal to try to determine why the priest and the Levite didn't stop. At times we say they were busy going to a church meeting, an ecclesiastical gathering, and they had to get on down to Jerusalem so they wouldn't be late for their meeting. At other times, we would speculate that there was a religious law that one who was engaged in religious ceremonials was not to touch a human body 24 hours before the ceremony. And every now and then we begin to wonder whether maybe they were not going down to Jerusalem, down to Jericho rather, to organize a Jericho Road Improvement Association. That's a possibility. Maybe they felt that it was better to deal with the problem from the causal root rather than to get bogged down with an individual effect. But I'm going to tell you what my imagination tells me. It's possible that those men were afraid. You see, the Jericho Road is a dangerous road. That's right. I remember when Mrs. King and I were first in Jerusalem. We rented a car and drove from Jerusalem down to Jericho. And as soon as we got on that road, I said to my wife, I can see why Jesus used this as the setting for his parable. It's a winding, meandering road. It's really conducive for ambushing. You start out in Jerusalem, which is about 1,200 miles, or rather 1,200 feet above sea level. And by the time you get down to Jericho, 15 or 20 minutes later, you're about 2,200 feet below sea level. That's a dangerous road. In the days of Jesus, it came to be known as the bloody paths. You know, it's possible that the priest and the Levite looked over that man on the ground and wondered if the robbers were still around. Or it's possible that they felt that the man on the ground was merely faking, and he was acting like he had been robbed and hurt in order to seize them over there, lure them there for quick and easy seizure. And so the first question that the priest asked, the first question that the Levite asked was, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? But then the Good Samaritan came by, and he reversed the question. If I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? That's the question before you tonight. Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to my job? Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers? What will happen to all of the hours that I usually spend in my office every day and every week as a pastor? The question is not if I stop to help this man in need, what will happen to me? The question is, if I do not stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? That's the question.
In Acts chapter 1, Jesus, one of the last things he said to his disciples, he says this. He says, "And you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere, in Jerusalem, throughout Judea, and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." Today we start a brand new series. I love it when we start new series. It's called Witness This. You got to say it like that, though. Witness this. I don't know why you have to say it like that. I'll never say it like that again. It just came to me right there. Witness this. I like it. Starting this series, and Jesus is looking at his disciples right before he leaves earth, and he tells them, hey, I want you to get this. You need to understand this. You are going to be my witness. You are to be my witness. I want people to look at your life, and you can be able to say, witness this. When they see you, I want them to see me. You're to be my witnesses. Now, he was speaking to his disciples, and some of you may think, well, he's just talking about them, not me. No, he meant you too. Jesus had a way of doing that. See, a disciple is a follower of Christ, and if you're in the room today and claim to be a Christian, you claim to be a follower of Christ, meaning he was looking at you and saying, I want you to be my witnesses. I want you to be my witness. I try to figure out what does the word witness mean. I'm looking it up and trying to understand it, and there's some cool definitions. One of them said this, that it's someone who has experienced something and then testifies about it. That's pretty good, isn't it? And I looked that up after I already named the series, but it feels like I did that on purpose. Someone who has experienced something and then tells people about it, testifies about it. So that's what this series is all going to be about, is about being a witness, recognize that we have experienced God's love and God's grace and God's mercy, and our job is to tell people about it in the way that we live, in the way that we walk, in the way that we talk, in the way that we eat, in the way we do marriage, in the way that we do parenting. In every part about who we are, people should be able to look at our life and we say, hey, witness this. And they should be able to see a little bit more about who Jesus is. There's a rap song I like called Tell the World. It's a Christian rapper. It's called Tell the World. In the chorus, I say, tell the world, tell them everywhere I go. Tell the world, tell them I'm a billboard. This idea that as a Christian, we're constantly representing Jesus. We're billboards. We're little Christ. So we need to make sure that people are able to see something. We've experienced something. Now it's our job to kind of testify to this. So to be completely real with you, as of Tuesday this week, we had a whole nother series called Gone Fishing that we were going to start this Sunday. Tuesday, that I had planned in like January. Actually, we planned in like November of last year, and I was really excited, and I started prepping for that series, and I was just like, I don't even like fishing, like what are we going to talk about? Nothing to do with fishing. And I was like, man, I just wasn't feeling it. It was like God wasn't saying something else. So Wednesday afternoon, I started writing, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what we're supposed to do, but it's not Gone Fishing. So help us out, or we're just going to be winging it all week. And he did. So I really am excited. I'm really pumped about what we're going to talk about today and next week and the next week and next week. I really feel like this was God's movement, God's hand saying, hey, I want something for the people at River's Edge. I got to tell them something. So instead of your plans that you had in November, I got something different. So I hope you enjoy this series called Witness This. Would you turn to the person on your left and not your right and say, witness this? It was kind of cool. Y'all went like this. Can you do it on that right, not the left, and say, witness this? You should see what I'm seeing. Like the first time, all your heads, you didn't just turn, you like turned and leaned. You're like, witness this? It just looked really cool up here. So we're going to look at the story of the Good Samaritan, the parable of that where Jesus is talking, and we're going to see if we can learn a few things from the Good Samaritan that we can apply to being a witness today. So in Luke chapter 10 is where the story comes from. It says, one day an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus by asking him this question, Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life? So Jesus replied, what does the law of Moses say? How do you read it? The man answered, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Right? Jesus told him, do this, and you'll live. The man wanted to justify his actions, so he asked Jesus, who's my neighbor? Now, the question he asked was, who's my neighbor? And here's why he asked it. He wanted to know who his neighbor was, so he could know who his neighbor wasn't, So he knew the people that he needed to love on, and then he wouldn't have to worry about loving on everyone. Does that make sense? Well, can you just clarify for a moment, like, who the neighbor would be, and then I'll make sure I do that right, and then I don't have to worry about, like, figuring it out. So he wants to know, who is my neighbor? Now, Jesus, pretty smart guy, I would say so. And Jesus, instead of answering the question, who is my neighbor, Jesus actually tells a story and answers the question, how to be a neighbor. He starts to show him, here's how you be a neighbor. So today, we're talking about how to be a neighbor, because if we're going to be a witness, I believe we need to know how to be a good neighbor. Like a good neighbor. No, Christians should be, like, you guys don't know that. Weird. That's good. You guys are good on that. You haven't even, that's good. How to be a neighbor. I believe the key word to being a neighbor, the key thing we got to understand that we're going to look at this story together. We're going to see it's about the word love. Everybody say love. Yeah, if you've ever heard me preach, you've heard me use that word love. It's my favorite word in the entire Bible. I like the word love a lot. Here's what Jesus says. I think it's the key to being a Christian, but here's what he says. It's the key to being a witness. It's the key to being a neighbor. In John 13:35, Jesus says, your love for one another will prove to the world that you're my disciples. If you want to show the world who you are, you want them to know that you're a follower of Christ, it's your love for the world that'll prove to them. It's your love that'll prove to them. It doesn't say it's your church attendance or how many Bible verses you have memorized. It doesn't say how much time you spend in prayer. It doesn't say all the cool tattoos you have that have crosses and Jesus fish and all that stuff. That's not how the world will know you're my disciple. It's not the cross necklace or the Facebook posts that you share that say, if you love Jesus, you will share or else. How many of you keep scrolling past those? How many of you get nervous every time you scroll past those? Sorry. I love you, Jesus. Just don't want to share this stupid Facebook post. That's not how the world will know that you're his follower. It says it's by your love for one another. So, we're going to take a look at this story. And I'm going to just pull out three things that I see, three ways that we can be a neighbor, three ways where I think love kind of marks us as disciples, as followers of Jesus. So, are you ready? You ready? Number one, how can I be a neighbor? Number one, I think you need to love those different than you. Love those who are different than you. It says in Luke chapter 10, it says, Jesus replied with a story. He says there was a Jewish man, it's important, not just a man, but a Jewish man that was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along. But when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant or a Levite, he walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed to the other side of the road. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. He had love for him. Jesus is speaking to predominantly this moment a Jewish audience, and so when they hear that a priest came along, they're saying, yeah, this is going to be a good story. This is going to be easy. Priest knows the law. They know to take care of people that are in need. A priest is a godly man. He's going to take care of this man, and what do we see? He walks to the other side and walks on by. But then a Levite comes along. Well, this guy's got to know what he's doing. He's a temple worker. He's going to be a churchgoer. This guy, he's going to take care of this man, and he walks right on by. And then Jesus says the word Samaritan. And everyone in the crowd, their ears go, so what did he say? He said, who? Oh. Samaritan? See, what you don't understand, Samaritans were not very popular with the Jewish. See, Samaritans were people that intermarried, and Jews would think of them as half-breeds. They were despised, rejected, hated on. They would not talk with these people, and so they know that if a Samaritan walks by, there's so much animosity between them that there's no way that this man is going to stop and help. But the Samaritan didn't look at the man and said, oh, you're too different from me. I can't help you. The Samaritan actually goes out of his way and goes over and has, what, compassion on him. I think one thing we need to understand that if we're going to be a good neighbor, if we're going to be a good witness to the world around us, we have to love people, and not just the people that look like you and that talk like you and that act like you. You got to love people that are different than who you are. I started with this clip because, Martin Luther King, you think of the context in which he's speaking. He understands this probably better than anyone. To love people that are different than you. And I was doing some research on this story, and I heard that this quote from Martin Luther King that I thought was really powerful, and then I looked at it and I thought, maybe I can find a video of him speaking. I just found the audio. But I don't know if that was weird or not. I don't know if they have a lot of videos of him speaking. They do? Now I don't feel so awkward. I was like, after I started searching, I was like, oh, duh, they're not going to have video of this. Like, they don't have like Facebook Live back when he was there. So I was looking in the wrong section. But I did find that audio clip, and I love the question that he talks about at the end. Did you hear that? This is the coolest part. This is why you heard that. He says, the two that first walked by, the Levite and the priest, they asked the question, what will happen to me if I help this man? Will this ruin my status? Will people look at me differently? What's going to happen to me? Will I get hurt? Will I get in trouble? Will this mess up my life if I start helping this guy? But the Samaritan says he reversed the question. He says, what will happen to this man if I don't stop? If I don't stop and help, what will happen to him? I love the picture of that question that it raises in our mind, that what if we chose to look at people in need, people that were different than us, and said, you know what? Loving on them, it's not about how it makes me look, but what can I do for somebody else? We're going to be a good neighbor. We must love people that are different than us, different lifestyles, different status, different clothes, different looks. They may cheer for a different team. Really? That was it, huh? That's what got you going. Different lifestyle? Who cares? Different look? No, don't worry. Different team? Oh. Oh, you mean Samaritans. Yeah. You see. You just got to know who you're talking to, right? You got to understand your people. That's why it's in there, literally in there, right? Different political party. Sorry, just keep going. Different religion. Different race. I heard another Christian pastor, I'm quoting all these great theologians, or Christian rapper, great theologians of my time. Seriously, if you want good theology, listen to some Christian rap. I'm telling you, sometimes they're deeper than I preach. Okay, I don't know, that's against me, or I don't know, it makes him look good, I don't know. But this one Christian rapper, he said that Sunday mornings are the most segregated time of the week. And every time I think about that, it hurts just a little bit. Because I look out at the culture of the church that we live in on Sunday mornings, we have people to gather together to love Jesus and to pray and to worship God and to gather together as family. And if you were to look around in most church landscapes today, you're going to see a lot of people that look like you if you're in that church. And I just wanted to take a little moment to talk about this and say that I don't think that's the way church is supposed to be. A little side rabbit trail, since we're on the road here, if I could just take it for a moment and say, I think church should be a reflection of heaven, and I think heaven is going to be a lot more diverse than most of our churches are. Let me show you, because I'm not just making this up. Revelation chapter 7, John, he gets this revelation of what the heaven's going to look like. He says, after this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, every tribe, every people, and every language. They were standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes, and they were holding palm branches in their hand. And they cried out with a loud voice, salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. Not my God, our God. Every tribe, every nation, every kind of people, every language. Heaven is going to be a very beautiful, diverse place. And our churches should reflect that. I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, you're the pastor. Do something about it. I'm trying. I'll be honest with you. One of the first few conversations I started to have with some of the leadership around here and some of the people around here was, hey, Lansing seems like a really diverse city. Why is our church not as diverse as it could be? And that's not a diss on what we've been doing. Listen, I love this church. This church is the friendliest church I've ever been at in my entire life. I've been to some churches. Okay, this church is a loving church and a welcoming church and an accepting church and a friendly church. That's probably one of the reasons why you're still here. Say yes. Yes. Right? Right? However, the truth is, we're not reflecting our culture as much as we could. And it hurts me a little bit, and I'm trying to figure out what do we do about it. I'm asking those questions, trying to understand it. But as I was preparing this message, I realized if we're loving people that are different than us, then that means that we're hanging out with people that are different than us. And if we're hanging out with people that are different than us, then we might find a time to invite someone that's different than us to come to this family gathering and say, I think you would like it here. The pastor's a little weird, but I think you would enjoy the people that listen to him. See, if we're loving people that are different than us, we're hanging out with them, and we will be inviting them to come join us in this gathering of people together. And I just believe that the church should reflect what heaven's going to look like. And I just think that if we're going to be a good neighbor, we need to be loving people that are different than us. See, God loves all people. He loves the human race, and I think so should we. God's not American. I don't know if you knew that. Let me just throw that out, and then we'll move on. Is that okay? He's not Democrat. He's not Republican. He's not independent. And he's not an American. He loves Americans, but he loves the world. That Jesus came and died on the cross for the whole world. And it says one day every nation, every tribe, every tongue, every people, every language will be in a place called heaven, and we'll be singing about our God, not my God. So we're going to love people. We got to love people that are different than us. We got to love on people that are different than us. If we're going to love people, we're going to be a good neighbor, we need to love those that are in need. Again, we're not just going to love people that can reciprocate love back to us. That's easy. The Bible says that. It's easy to love people that love you. Try loving someone that doesn't like you. That's more difficult. It's easy to love people that aren't really in need. It's like, oh, I got to go love on my best friend. He needs someone to play Xbox with him. Who else is going to do it? Just got to be a good neighbor. Pastor said I got to love on people. He's in need. He's got a 2-player game. He's only got 1 player. His wife won't play with him. Honey, I got to go do ministry. Sorry. I mark it on my hours every week. Xbox, right? Just kidding. I haven't played in a long time. But if you're in need of a 2-player, I can do it. Love those that are actually in need. We see this man, he is beaten, stripped of his clothes, left half dead. He was in real need. Real need. He needed someone to show love. 1 John 3:17 says, if someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need but shows no compassion, how can God's love be in that person? If you claim to be a follower of Christ, you claim to have God's love within you. God's poured his love on you, his grace on you, his forgiveness on you, his mercy on you, and you like that. That's a good thing. But if you claim to be a follower of Christ and have God's love within you, and you see someone else in need, and you don't have any compassion or love on them, the Bible says, wait a second, something's not right here. Because if you have God's love in you, you should have compassion for people that are in need. Have you ever heard you've been blessed to be a blessing? I like that phrase. Do you like that? I don't care if you do or not. I like it. It's okay. You've been blessed to be a blessing. I love that concept that we've been blessed to be a blessing. God has poured his love on us. And I just think the purpose of life is to take the same love that he has bestowed upon us, that he has lavished upon us, that he has given us, and we say, okay, I'm going to give it back to you, God. I'm just going to reflect your love back to you because I'm so grateful, but I'm also going to give it out to the world around me. You've probably heard me say, it's my favorite saying and phrase, it's kind of my life motto, is love up and love out. We love God and others with the same love he's loved us, unconditional, sacrificial, and a family kind of love. We take the same love that he has for us and we share it with other people. We are to love up and to love out. And when we do that, we give God glory. That's what the world is all about. It's about showing love to people that are in need. In 1 Peter 4:8, it says, most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for a love covers a multitude of sins. Cheerfully share your home with those who need a meal or a place to stay. God has given each of you a gift of his great variety of spiritual gifts, so use them well to serve one another. Show deep love. Open up your home. Maybe share a meal with somebody. And then it says God has given us different gifts. Now he's talking about spiritual gifts in this moment. He's saying that God has gifted each one of you followers of Christ with a certain spiritual kind of gift. But I think it can be said about all the other things he's given us, like talents and abilities and passions, that he's given those to you not so that you can use it to make yourself look better. You're a gifted communicator, go find a way to work your way up the corporate ladder and be awesome. You're a good leader, go be a leader and make lots of money. I don't think that's why he gave us gifts and abilities, is so we could go and make lots of money and enjoy the world. I don't think it's wrong to make lots of money. I don't think it's wrong to enjoy the world. But he says, I want you to use your gifts to serve one another. In James, it says, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress. Amen. That if you want to know what it looks like to, real religion looks like, it's about caring for those orphans and widows in distress. And so a few years ago, I always said that our job as a church is to care for the needy. And I think there's a lot of Bible verses that say that. This verse right here kind of reflects that idea. And a few years ago, I always was like, well, what does needy mean? And I'll just be honest, I think a lot of us do this. We think needy just means financially needy. We think of needy, we think of the word poor, we think of the word money, and then we assume, okay, well, as long as I find a way to give financially to some people every once in a while, then I am caring for the needy. But then, like I said, a few years back, I started to realize I think the word needy should be defined a little bit differently, at least for me. And so I looked at this and I thought, what is an orphan? Well, an orphan is someone who is less fortunate than I am in the sense of family. They don't have a father or a mother. They're in need of parents. What is a widow? A widow is someone who is in need of some family. And if you look through the Bible, you'll see that if a widow has her own family, then that family needs to take care of her. But if not, the church should take care of that person because they're without a family. So a widow is someone in need of family. I realize that there's more than just financial needs that make someone needy. So here's how I define it. Anyone less fortunate than me in any area of life, that is a needy person, and I am called to love on them. That make sense? Kind of follow where I'm going? Anyone less fortunate than me in any area of my life, I should be able to find a way to love on them. Let's start with the easy one, finances, right? Some of us have been blessed financially, and that's a great thing. That's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. When God has blessed you financially, you praise God and thank God and you worship God for the ability that he's given you to either find a way to make lots of money, maybe you inherited money or however you got money. That's great. It's okay. But you're supposed to look around and see, is there anyone less fortunate than me financially? Oh, if they are, is there any way that I can help them with the gift I've been given of finances? Can I find a way to contribute in such a way that I'm financially helping someone, I'm loving on someone in their need? That one's too easy. Let's try it, everyone. Family. Did you know that some of you have been blessed with good family? Some of you are going, not me. This is one of the words that know to me. Some of us have been blessed with good family, good parents, good childhood, cool sisters, cool brothers, lots of aunts and uncles. You might have when I say the word family, some of you light up. You say, I can't wait till Thanksgiving when I get to see my family again. And others, you're like, I can't wait till this weekend when I get to hang out with my family again. Some of you, when I say the word family, you say, yep, can't choose your family. But I got some. If you need family, I'll give you my sister. I'm not saying that. Some of you are saying that. Sorry, sister, if you're listening to this. You got to understand that some people aren't as fortunate as you are when it comes to the area of family. If you have a wonderful family, you love your family, what you may need to do is take that way in which you've been blessed and been given more abundant, been more fortunate with. You need to find a way, how can I be a sister to someone sitting next to you? Maybe there's someone in this church that needs a brother, someone that they can call when they're in need that would come out of their house at any time of night to help them. Maybe there's some people in this room that need a father or mother figure. And you look at them and say, I know that you didn't have a father or mother figure that loved you the way you were intended to be loved, but I can step up in that way. I can help you in that way. And don't be weird about it and say, start calling me dad. Don't do that. That's weird. Just find ways that you can be fatherly to people. Find ways that you can be motherly to people. Find ways that you can be a sister or a brother, because some people aren't as fortunate as you are. They don't know what a good brother looks like. They don't have that person they can call and just say, I need to cry with you right now. I need someone to listen to me. They may not understand because they're less fortunate than you. Let me throw one more else out there. It kind of goes in line with this, and that's friendship. You know, some of you have too many friends. In a good way. Some of you, friendship comes so easy and naturally. Like you're just one of those people that everybody loves and you love everyone. I'm not going to mention a guy's name in the room, but there's a guy in this church that's the nicest person on the planet. And there's like 6 of you that know when I start talking about him, I'm like, yeah, don't say his name, because he'll just say, oh, no, you're the nicest person on the planet. Oh, you're great. He's so kind. He's like the nicest friend you'll ever have, and he's one of my friends, and I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't want you to take him from me, okay? But he is blessed with friendship. You meet him in 10 minutes, you're like, I want to be his best friend. He's so kind. And then there's people like me. That was a joke. There's some people that friendships are easy. They come naturally, they go well. And there's some people in this room that you come and you sit in this room full of people, surrounded by people, and you feel isolated, alone, and empty right now. And you came in here and you connected to church and you're like, yeah, they're really friendly people, but I need a friend. Church, I'm just here to tell you that if we're going to be good neighbors, we need to be more than just friendly. There are people that need friendship. They don't know what it's like to have a good friend. And you might understand what that's like. And I think it's our job, if we're going to love people, if we're going to be a good neighbor, if we're going to be a witness to the world, we need to love people in need. And one of the ways we can do that is with friendship. Is there a need in the life of someone around you that you can help meet? I think if we're going to be a good neighbor, you need to love those that are in need. And one last thing I see, the first two were kind of who you should love. You love people that are different than you, love people that are actually in need. This is kind of more of a way that how you should show love to people. You need to love with action beyond expectation. Ooh, that sounds cool, didn't it? I liked it. That's why I said it. I wouldn't have written it if it wasn't that fun in my head. Love with action beyond expectation. Let's see how the story continues. It says, then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn, where he took care of him. The next day, he's still there. He handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I will pay you the next time I am here. The good Samaritan didn't just walk by and say, you need any help? Okay, I'll call someone. He didn't just throw some money at him. Hey, I'm busy. I got places to be. I got people to see. Here, take a couple bucks. You can fix yourself. No. What did he do? He got down on the ground. He got his hands dirty. He probably didn't carry a first aid kit. So he bandaged his wounds. That means most people think that he started ripping some of his own clothes and started wrapping them. And then he says, here, I got a donkey. I was going to ride it. And you remember how Martin Luther King was talking about how this road was a dangerous road and a crazy road. And it's like the elevation started up. This is a rocky place. He said, I'll walk. Let me get you up on my donkey. Then he took him to the inn, and he stayed there with him at least one night. We see that because it says the next day. He stayed there and took care of him. He didn't just give him a place to stay. He didn't just drop him off at the hospital. He stayed there, took care of him. And then when he left, probably when he had to go, he said, here, I'm going to leave some money for you. And this was at least a couple weeks would have paid for this inn. This guy could have stayed there a couple weeks. That was how much money he left. I'm going to say this. If there's more, I'm coming back. I'll pay whatever it needs. Just make sure this man gets taken care of. He didn't just say, I love people. He actually loved people with his action. And he went above and beyond the expectation. I want to show you 1 John. We read 1 John 3:17. I want to show you the verse before and the verse after because I want you to see how this is sandwiched together. It says, we know real love because Jesus gave his life for us. So we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. If someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need but shows no compassion, shows no love, how can God's love be in that person? Then it says, dear children, I like it when the Bible calls me a child. Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let's show the truth by our actions. We can talk about love all we want, but unless we show love, we're no good in this world. Sometimes I find myself doing that. If I can be completely honest with you. I just told you I love the word love, right? Love up, love out, that's what I'm all about. I talk a really good game. But there's times in my life where what I'm doing, the actions that I'm showing, aren't really lining up with how much I talk about how much I love. We post a lot of great stuff on Facebook about how much we love God and how much we love people. But when was the last time that you actually helped someone that was in need? When was the last time they actually put some feet to your faith? Some actions to your words? I'm trying to decide if I really want to share a story that makes me look kind of stupid. Yeah, all right, I might. You guys already know who I am. Come on now. So this story may seem like I did the right thing, which I ended up doing the right thing, but if you know what was going on in my mind, you realize that I didn't want to do the right thing. So a few months ago, I'm sitting at work doing the Lord's work, and I get a call, and I answered the church phone. And so I answered the church phone, and this guy starts talking, and he was in need of some money. Said, I need some money. He told me this long story about how he needed just like $10 to get a bus ticket to get out of Lansing to get to somewhere, and I don't remember all the details, but he needed like $10, and I was like, okay, well, like our church has a process, some benevolence fund will help you, but, you have to come to the church, right? Like, I'm not going to go to you. He's like, well, I can't. I'm at the bus station already. I need this money like in the next hour or whatever. And, can you like find a way to get it here? And I'm like, well, I mean, I got some important things I've got going on. I mean, I'm writing a message. And I was probably typing, love people and love God. Right? And so I continue to battle, like legitimate battle in my mind. I was like, I'm not leaving to go to give this man $10. Like, he probably just wants money. That's all he wants. Who knows what he's going to do with it? So I keep like saying all these excuses. Well, I know of this one place that you can do that our church is a part of that they love to give money to people that are in need. You can just call them and ask, yeah, but this is the only number I found, and I just found it online. You're a church, right? Don't you love people? And now I'm like, oh, he's telling me I'm supposed to do this. So now I'm getting a little like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. Right? But I just felt this something inside where God was like, go. No. Well, I mean, I do have some money. I mean, I would personally give you money. Like, our church doesn't even have cash. It doesn't slip. So I was trying to make that excuse, and I'm like, well, I probably got some money. So eventually, long story short, I decided I'm going to get up and go, where are you? I'm at the bus stop down in Lansing. I'm like, that's like 15 minutes away. So I'm like talking to him, I'm MapQuesting it, and I'm like trying to find every excuse I can. I'm like, well, I mean, that's a long way away. What's your name? And then I forgot his name. So I'm going to meet a guy I don't know what he looks like. I don't know his name in a place I've never been, downtown Lansing or whatever. It's not really downtown, but it's close. So I go down to, and I get in my car and realize I didn't have money. So I got to go get money. My gas tank is on E, right? So I'm going, this is ridiculous. What is going on? And I drive down there, and I walk into this bus station. I find the man, and I give him $10. That was it. He just needed I think it was 10, maybe 50. And then I left. I never saw him again. I hope he got on a bus. And the whole time, I just kept thinking, why was I making so many excuses to love somebody? Walk back in my office. The sign says, love up, love out. And I love to wear a shirt that says love God and love others, and here I am having a hard time giving up like 35 minutes of my day to go give a guy $10 that I would have wasted on, Trying not to say it as much in my messages anymore, so but no one else heard me say it. My point of the story is this. Love is not just something we speak about. It's what we do. You can tell people you love them. You can tell people you love people. You can claim to be a Christian, but how you live your life matters. People should be able to look at the way you do marriage, the way you do parenting, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you act, the way you handle your finances, and they should be able to look at your life, and you should be able to say, hey, witness this. And they should see Jesus in all that you do. So, the story ends like this. Jesus wraps up his parable and he says, now which of these three would you say is a neighbor to the man who was attacked by the bandits? The man replied, the one who showed him mercy. Jesus says, yes, now go and do the same. That you need to go and actually live this out. Have compassion on people that are different than you. Find needs in the lives of those around you and find a way that you can meet them. And when you love people, don't just talk about it, but love them with action. And it's okay if you go beyond expectation. It's okay if you step it up a little bit. And what might happen is you're going to live in such a curious, weird, strange way that people are going to be like, why do you do what you do? And the hope is that you can say, well, 1 John 3 says, we know what real love is because of what Jesus did. Say, what Jesus did for me went above and beyond. He loved me and I was different than him. He was a perfect, righteous man and I'm a sinner. He loved me and I was in great need. I was in need of a rescue. And he loved me and he loved me with his actions. He came and he lived a perfect life and then died the death that I deserved to die. And he went above and beyond. He took away my sin. He put me in a right place with God. And then he said, I want to be your friend. More than a friend, I want to be your leader. I want to be your Lord. I want to be a part of your life. That's how Jesus loved. That's how I believe we need to love. And if we're going to be a good neighbor and a witness, I think this is what it's all about. So as you walk out today, I want to ask you a question. Maybe I'll ask this every week. Right? Take notes. I think we should ask this every week. I'm trying to think of the voice to say it in. There's got to be a good voice. Can I get a witness always want to say that. I mean, can I get a witness? I mean, is there someone in the room that would say, you know what? I want to start being a witness. I want to start doing what Jesus called me to do and actually be a witness to the world around me. So today, it's just being simple. Find a way to be a neighbor. And the best way to be a neighbor is to love people. People that are different, people that are in need, and love them well. Don't just talk about it. Do something. As you walk out the door, think of that question. Pastor asked if he could get a witness. Maybe this week you could be a witness. You could live your life in such a way where you can say, witness this. And when they see how you live and how you love, they see Jesus. That's my hope. That's my prayer. That's my encouragement for you. I won't make you stand up or raise your hand and say, yeah, I'll be your witness. But think about it. Can we get witnesses in this place? They've experienced something, and then they testify about it. That's what a witness is. That's what we're called to be. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you so much for the love that you've shown us. Help us to take that same love, share it with others. Thank you for the story about a man who got down off his horse, down off his donkey, and met the needs of someone that was different. But he showed great love. May we do the same in every area of our life. May you always receive the honor and glory as we do it. Help us to be your witnesses.